Hi, Bobby. Welcome back to Chelsea's Perspective.
Hey, sorry, I just said that off. Yeah, hi, coach. So for all these things. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for
always.
having me. It's a privilege.
Yeah,
Really is.
always good to have you around. I love listening to you talk football. So today we're here to analyze the lineup that Tuchel had decided to put out for the game against Malmo. A very important game at that. Having lost to Juventus, I think no question this is a must-win game. Even before our loss to Juventus, it can. Man, how do you tell that story that Chelsea lost to Malmo at home? So I don't know if you've seen the lineup, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. The only surprise for me is perhaps Lukaku. I thought he might come off the bench,
Hmm.
but yeah, Jorginho can say Mount Rudy. I mean, it's nothing that we wouldn't have completely expected. It's probably given Loftus Cheek a bit of a rest. Yeah, we'll see. Definitely, it's a game we have to take seriously, and I don't think Malmo are going to be that much of a pushover. We've got to be careful here.
Yeah, no question. I remember in our run to the Europa League final, the one we won under Mauricio Sarri, they weren't a pushover. Actually, that's one of the legs we nearly didn't win the game. I think they scored first. I don't remember how it all went down that day. But what you said about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Bobby? Why change a winning team? He's been in great form, and he's the reason why our midfield started performing. He's the reason why we've been able to do well against teams that defend deep. He's able to glide through the midfield seamlessly to the attacking opponents. That is to the final third. Like the issue we've had, he solved it for us. Why bench him?
I think the things we miss, or the thing we miss here as fans, is the bigger picture. A lot of the time, our team selection and our coaches and our managers, they can't just put players, on that immediate demand. Someone like Ruben, he has come back from injury. He was managed into playing 90 minutes. He's played a few back to back 90 minutes. He played against Brentford. And I have no doubts that he'll come on at some stage in this game. And I have no doubt he'll play against Norwich. We have an almighty season ahead of us. We must manage our players. I mean, look at what's happened to Pulisic. We can't just risk them on having any kind of unnecessary fatigue at this stage in the season. Now, Chelsea has enough to deal with Malmo. I know there may be an issue of their height because I believe they're quite a tall team, but we should have enough to deal with them. And it looks like we are taking the game seriously. But rotation's key for us. I think the World Club Cup is in what, January, February? It
I'm
kind
not
of
sure the date, but it's. I mean, the games are even before the Club World Cup. The games are coming in now, thick and fast. So many
Mm.
games to play within a very short span of time. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to manage the players. We have to manage and use the squad. Nobody in the squad should not be able to be used. And that's why I was so happy that he used Malang Sarr against Brentford. I'm
Yeah, and he did
hoping.
well.
Oh, he did. He did. Listen, that kid's what, 22 years old. He hasn't barely played any sort of. Well, that was his Premier League debut. So I don't know. Sometimes I find fans we're not easily pleased. I think he has, quite obviously he can improve, but for a debut and for someone so young, I think he didn't do himself any harm. And so, I'm looking forward to maybe Ross Barkley getting a little run out today. And, we've got to be able to use that squad because it's that squad that's going to keep us in for the prizes come May next year.
I understand your point now. Okay, Bobby, you talked about rotation and you're happy that Ruben Loftus-Cheek is being rested for this game. And by the way, Helgi, welcome to the show, my brother. It's always good to have you around.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, and very delighted to be here again. And
You're very welcome.
we
So
roll into the
Hello,
discussion.
Helgi.
Yeah. So Bobby, coming back to you now, if you're talking about rotation to rest players, because I agree with you, we have to use everybody we have. Because if we play them without giving them a rest, they will burn out. My argument always been they are humans. They're not machines. They're humans after all. So if that's your argument, why do we have Silva leading the line, and then we also have Andreas Christensen? There's a risk there for me. If you ask me, I'd say it's more like having the whole egg in a single basket. Because if anything should happen to Silva and Christensen, would have a problem finding another player who's capable of leading the back line from the center position as the two of them can. So why not rest Christensen today? He's played the last 2 games or so, I don't remember, or just one after the international break. Why start him again today alongside Thiago Silva? If the argument is that we need defensive solidity, we already have Cesar Azpilicueta there. Why not play Trevor Chalova at the right center back position, since Cesar Azpilicueta is there as a right wing back, because we all know he's defensively minded. So what do you have to say about that, Bobby?
The truth is, Chelsea don't have that strength in depth that we like to think we have. We got rid of Zuma. We didn't get Jules Koundé, so we're a little bit short in the defensive positions. But that being said, you still play your best team, and it's a matter of selecting the players that you give a bit of a break, utilizing those that may have to play a little bit longer and a little bit harder, up until the rotation is piecemeal, not holistic. I mean, Thiago Silva just got back from Brazil. He didn't play on Saturday. He is actually the sort of Champions League type player, although he does well for us in the league as well. And we do try and rotate him because of his age, obviously. Aspie is a player that, he barely gets rotated. At the moment, credit to Christensen, he's fallen into that category, but I'm quite sure that time will come where he will be rotated. Chalobah playing this game, you have to go for experience. He's a wonderful player. He's done well, and his time will come. But as you've said, this is a must-win. So in as much as we've rested a couple, we need to still rely on the reliables. And that's why we've got this team out today as you see it.
So you don't think it's a risk playing Christensen and Thiago Silva at the same game? In the same game?
Well, we risk our players all the time. It seems to be a risk that we have to take. And remember, we're not coaching these players. We're not seeing them every day at Cobham, whereas the manager is, or rather, Tuchel, he is. And, he knows their fitness levels. He knows who's carrying niggles that may be just that bit too much for them. So he knows all this stuff. And for him to play Christensen and Thiago Silva, so especially after Christensen has played a few back-to-back games, he must see that he's capable of doing that. I'm not too worried. I know that Christensen's rest period will come, as will Thiago Silva's. We've got Norwich in a couple of days' time, and then we've got Southampton again. So a lot of rotation is still to be had. But for this game, I think he has probably chosen the right defensive people.
All right, fair enough point for me, but still, I understand where you're coming from, Bobby. I'd argue because the truth is we don't have any other player like players like Christensen and Thiago Silva who are capable of leading the back three for when we play three at the back. They're very unique in the way they play, come on the ball and all that. But I'll come back to you again, Bobby, and thank you very much for taking the time to explain why you think Tuchel he has this lineup. Helgi, over to you. What do you think about the lineup overall?
Well, first of all, I can say that in the first side, you think that it's a bit of a surprise in terms of the strength it is on paper, considering the hectic period we will have in the next couple of months or so. But I agree with Bobby in terms of the factor of not underestimating the opposition, which is very important especially in Champions League, and considering the fact that we lost our game at Juventus, there is absolutely no place to underestimate any kind of opposition, especially knowing that Zenit may do well in the coming games. They are a tough cookie, and also we have another game against Juve. So I agree with more or less the lineup, even though firstly I would expect some more rotation, especially for Lukaku, not because I initially thought that he would start, but I listened to Thomas Tuchel's press conference yesterday, and he hinted that he could have benched Lukaku today due to him getting a lot of minutes both with us and with the national team. But trying to find the logic beyond his selections, besides not underestimating the opposition, I think that it's also a matter of trying to create a sort of chemistry in attack between Mount, Werner, and Lukaku, because they have played already together, but there have been formation changes, and we have seen that in a 3-4-2-1, the team is more flexible and has more attacking opportunities to create than in a 3-5-2, where there is only one man behind Lukaku. So I believe it's also a psychological factor to try to push the players into an opportunity to gel with each other and create a kind of bond, which usually starts against smaller oppositions on paper, but then could be very beneficial in the games against more like dynamic and competitive teams in the Premier League or even in the Champions League in the later stages. About the back line, because in terms of the discussion, I agree with the fact that maybe Chalobah could have started again, especially with his good performances, but we shouldn't forget that Thiago Silva and Tony Rudiger didn't play against Brentford, so it's an opportunity to kick again after the international break. And I get the decision, so the reasons behind the decision that Tuchel has made today. It's a matter of, in general, not underestimating the opposition. So I'm happy with the choices, and I think that will be place for rotation in the coming games. So despite not expecting it to be exactly this kind of lineup, maybe I could have expected a false nine or Alonso in place of Chilwell, and maybe one or two changes in the back line. But now in retrospect, I can get the reasons behind it. So I'm happy that we are taking every opponent seriously. These are signs of a positive mentality. No longer than 2 or 3 weeks ago, Sheriff bet Real Madrid at Bernabeu, and these are the most recent examples that we shouldn't underestimate anyone. So I'm happy with the choices.
Okay, fair enough argument there. I mean, we all have our opinions, but the way I see things, I'll still come back to you, Helgi, and thank you for taking some time to explain why it is important that we start a very strong lineup like we're looking at right now. So, Bobby, I'm coming back to you now. Let's start before we go back to the personnel on the pitch that we will be fielding today. Let me come back to the structure of the formation. If you look at the formation, we have 2 6s, and some would argue that playing 2 6s is detrimental to our attacking ability because you have 2 players playing where one can actually suffice. Somebody like Kante can play alone in a lone DM position, and he's very effective in that position. He also at the same time protects the defense very well. So why play 2 6s? Because if we play one person there, that means we have the possibility of deploying one more person up front. What do you think about that, Bobby?
I can't, claim to be an encyclopedia of Malmo, but the little I know is that they're almost like Juventus. They will play a low block and they will look to hit us on the counter-attack.
And traditionally, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. I think they play 4-4-2.
Well, I think that's to our advantage. But anyway, that they will still play that sort of Juventus type, block and try and counter-attack. They don't have a Federico Chiesa, so I don't know how it's going to pan out. But they do have a lot of height, and I believe they have pace. Now, the sitter of the two sixes will sort of be Jorginho. It has to be. The reason for playing them both is that Kante is up and down. He has the pace to do that. He has the endeavour. We all know what Kante is about. So he's a little bit of a, if I dare use the word, 6.5. He will double up with Jorginho where he needs to, where we're under that sort of threat, and he will go forward to support the attack where needed. So I'm not really worried by that. We've played that way a lot. We've done that all of last season, and I'm not that concerned. Where I am curious, I have to say, is because I am expecting, and I could be totally wrong, I am expecting this low block. And I see Tuchel trying to capitalize on that Werner-Lukaku partnership, which is sensible. But I just felt that, with the low block, it might be more difficult for them with the sort of burly defenders they've got to deal with Havertz and Werner, because they'll be looking for someone to mark. And Lukaku really has to be on form today because they will try and bully him. I think he can withstand that, but I don't know. I thought we would try and be a little bit more cagey about this, but who am I? Tuchel knows best, I guess.
And you are for Azpilicueta starting over Reece James, even though we have Christensen in the defense as the right centre back.
Well, this is another thing. There's several issues here. How recovered is Reece James from his injury? These are things that we tend to forget.
That's an important point.
Yeah, it's like with Barkley, people slate him because of his poor form, but they forget that Barkley is somebody that's had several injuries and he takes quite a while to fully recover. So of course it's going to affect his form. Same, maybe not quite the same with Reece James, but I'm sure he might still be feeling some pain here or there, and so hence we start with Aspie, and we forget Aspie is our skipper. It's always good to have your captain on the pitch. He's a fighter. He's quite dogged in the way he plays, and I have always liked Azpilicueta as a captain since he took the armband. I think he motivates the team in his own way. He fights, and they get something from his endeavor. So it's not too bad a shout. I think the game itself will answer a lot of questions for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to explain that. Also, his importance is there for everyone to see. He's a fighter, like you said, and he never gives up until the man in the middle blows the whistle. I think he's Chelsea through and through. Coming to the midfield, I'll come back to you again, Bobby. I know I don't know if I've asked you what you think about the 266. Helgi, do you think? What do you think about playing 2-6s when one alone will suffice, and then give us the opportunity to add one more person to the attacking line?
Well, this is a discussion that has gathered pace, especially after the Brentford game, when it was clear that we had some problems, especially in the last 20 minutes, to create the dynamic and movements in the last 20 meters. But there is a debate to be made whether this infertility in terms of creating chances is due to the personnel or the system. Like, I believe that even if we switch to a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, I don't think that this would make much difference in terms of creating more chances immediately. It may take its own time, and at the moment we are in a comfortable position in this back three formation, bar the problems in terms of chances creation. But I'm sticking to my opinion that for this game we should. For me, it's a good choice to have gone with double sixes again, because as I said, you need to carry on doing what you have started with against both strong and less like less how famous oppositions. So in terms of this, I believe that it's a more of a psychological factor, and in terms of personnel, to try and find the right players, even especially behind Lukaku, rather than a matter of system and creating chances with putting wingers or so a number 10 behind him. So I think the players need their time to gel with Lukaku. One thing also that I am curious about is watching how Pulisic should have done behind him, because he's a guy that can create things out of nothing, and especially when he's at his best, he has a very direct and sharpness sense to hit the target and make more fluid combinations with the number 9. But as it stands, I still believe that taking the initiative of what Bobby said, if Malmo play in a low block, we need people between the lines, and Werner and Mount together could do much better than solely one of them behind Lukaku. And it's also a psychological factor that we need to make sure that Lukaku starts scoring, even if it's against an opposition of Malmo's stature. So in my opinion, all in all, it's not a problem of system rather than a problem of personnel when it comes to possible switch from a 3-4.
Okay, if you can hold on now, you made a great point there. You said it's not a problem of system, it's a problem of personnel, right? If that's the case, we had Ruben Loftus-Cheek who helped us solve that problem, because the issue of not being able, to deal with oppositions who press us aggressively, or oppositions who aggressively like Manchester City did, or opponents who defend deep like Juventus did, we were not able to overcome that issue until Ruben Loftus-Cheek started playing games. So that's why I am concerned. Why drop him? This game is as important as any other game that we have to play. And he hasn't played. He just started 2 consecutive games, and he didn't go anywhere. And we've played just 1 game after the international break, right?
Yeah. But
so that begs the question: why rest him?
I think the
issue. Go ahead.
The Brentford game was an unusual one in terms of the physical demands of it, and we shouldn't forget that Ruben endured all 90 minutes. So there is, in my opinion, a sort of physical reason to rest him today and to make him ready against Norwich, rather than a sort of a rotation just for the sake of it, like dropping Ruben because he was bad or he had some tactical problems or whatever. He was, I think, the best for us in the first half against Brentford, and did well in those half of the second half against them. But when it comes to tonight's game, I believe that it's just a rotation in terms of the physicality that Brentford put to us, especially in terms of fighting for the second and third balls. And Ruben is one of the guys who had the bigger responsibility in defending them, because he is one of the tallest players we have in our current personnel. So I believe it's just a choice of keeping him rest and fresh for the Norwich game. We can discuss from outside because we aren't in the training ground and see the things from inside. But I think it's just a matter of this. While I made the analogy with Lukaku, so he may be in a similar situation, but he needs goals. And when you want to get over a kind of goal drought, you don't care if it's Malmo, if it's United or City or whoever. You just need that psychological factor. With Ruben, that's not the case, because he has played very well. He has shown the dynamism you were talking about in terms of escaping the pressure and driving the team forward and everything. But tonight I find it reasonable because we need him fresh, and I feel that the Bournemouth game was particularly demanding for all the team, but especially for him.
All right, great argument right there. I understand your point. Again, that's why we're all here to present different perspectives to the viewers or followers or fan base, if you like. And like you mentioned, none of us were not in the training ground. We don't see things the coach see. The manager trains with them. He knows the better option to put out on the pitch. So thank you again, Bobby. Coming back to you, since we're still talking about the double sixes, which of the two players would you say are the two best pairing for us right now in a double sixes position? Since traditionally that's what we play all the time.
I don't think we'll have the answer to that question till probably April, because we've got players finding form, we've got players still recovering from last season because of the Euros. And so the different combinations, I mean, what we did last season is tried and tested, and of course it works. We've seen it work. But there is a new dynamic, teams now are more prepared for that. And so we're having to do things a little bit differently. And that's what people like Rubin, Barkley, and we had hoped Sao Niguez will give us. A point I really wanted to raise, Coach Ella, is that, as I said right from the beginning, we need to be careful looking at things in finite terms. We see a selection at the start of a game, and we almost talk as if that's it. Remember, that there are 5 substitutions, and Tuchel is notorious for bringing on his strongest team towards the end of games. So it is just pure rotation. It's not a punishment, or that a player is being dropped, or carelessness, that a player that has performed well in the previous game doesn't necessarily start the game 3 days later. We've highlighted how grueling the game was against Brentford, and the physical toll it took on the likes of Loftus-Cheek, who largely was in that midfield on his own, and he was doing the holding role alone. So I'm not worried. Just like Helga, I'm not worried at all. I think it's part of the tactical approach to the game today, and I'm sure that there'll be substitutions. I feel Ruben will probably come on towards the later part of the game, as he did against Juventus, and we'll see a few more players. We've got players on the bench. Ziyech is on the bench. Havertz is on the bench, and I'm pretty sure one or both of those players will have a run out today as well. So it's a bit of a mix and match, and that's what we're doing. We're mixing and matching. As for the double six, the initial question you've asked, what's the best pairing? I'm not sure we have a best pairing at the moment, but we have a sufficient pairing to deal with all the challenges that we're going to be facing. The key for Chelsea this year is variety and using the squad.
Very well said, Bobby, and thank you very much for taking some time explaining that. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, I think I am with you on that one. There's not that possibility to say this is our best pairing at the moment, because we have a lot of players who can play in that position, and it's still early days in the season and even in the Champions League, so it will take some time to find out what the best pairing will be in the double sixes position. So now moving on, I think while I am still with Bobby, I'd like to appreciate the people in the chat, especially Almighty Blue, CFC, Just Viola, Phantom of Many Colors, Starve, and who I saw, and many others there. I appreciate your presence, and you present more, you bring value to the stream, and thank you very much. And please, if you haven't, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and more importantly, click on the bell notification button so that you will get notified whenever we are live or whenever we upload a new video. Now, still with you, Bobby. Coming to the 2/8 or 2/10, depends on the application. I'm not sure how. We have Mount and Timo Werner. Do you think that's a good selection for that position behind Lukaku?
This is a good question. This is a very good question. I always believe that our creator really in this formation is meant to be Mason Mount. But Mason Mount is not that much of a creator. He can create, in all respect to him, but he's not that much of a creator. He's more of somebody that will help with a high press. He's more of a hustler. He will add endeavor to the side. Whether he'll add creativity, that's questionable. So having him and Werner, who is a very good decoy, he can be dangerous himself. It's a complication for them. I don't envy them having to keep those three in check. But I see things changing as the game goes on, and if Ruben doesn't create as much as perhaps he should in that position, Ruben, what am I saying? Mount doesn't create perhaps as much as he should in that position. I can see some changes. We've got Werner, sorry, we've got Ziyech on the bench. Potentially, there could be Werner and Havertz at some point in the game behind Lukaku. There's all sorts of things we can do. So as we have started with Werner and Mason Mount, I can't fault it, Coach. I really can't. I just think it's who we are, it's how we play, it's what we've got, and it's what we're using to start the game. And I think it should be enough of a handful to give Malmo some serious problems.
Yeah, even though I agree, I understand your argument, and I can't fault the selection there for the 2-8s, but I have that's my questions if you ask me on why other players, you can make a case for other players like Ziyech starting there. Even Ruben Loftus-Cheek can play 8 quite well because he's a good finisher and he can shoot also. We have who else again is available? I think let me say just those two: Hakim Ziyech, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and then Kai Havertz himself. Three of whom are very good finishes. Even you could argue the three of them they finish better than Mason Mount.
Yeah.
So I will come back. Go ahead.
There's so much we can do. I mean, remember, Barkley's on the bench as well.
Exactly. Who can also play in that position? Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know how improved Niguez is. So there's a lot we can do. As I've said, there's going to be 5 substitutions, and I can almost 100% tell you that the team that is starting on paper now will not be the team that's finishing. There will be at least 3 of those 5 substitutions used, and you never know. Ruben may come on to do the 8 role later on in the game. It's very possible. As can Barkley, as can Ziyech. Saul, I don't know what form he's in, but he's on the bench, so we could see him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. Now we understand how difficult it can be for the manager to pick the best 11 to represent us in a game. I will still come back to you with a question that's somewhat related to the comment on the screen, Bobby. Now, coming to you, Helgi, the 2-8, or like I said before, the 2-10s, depending on the application. Are you good with it? The way the 2 selection there, the 2 players there, which is Timo Werner and Mason Mount.
Well, in my opinion, it's a good selection because we have seen in the not earlier than in the past 2 Champions League games when Ziyech and Mount played together against Zenit, and if I'm not wrong, it was Ziyech and Havertz against Juve. So it's a new double of inverted forwards this time. So we need to expect more kind of spark in that space between the lines and behind Lukaku. It's a good discussion in terms of rotating with Ruben or Barkley or even Ziyech later in the game there, but there are some problems which mean that have led me into thinking that Ziyech, and especially in this kind of form he has been, is proving to be a victim of the system, because he seems to be that kind of system player who likes to roam wide and cut inside or adjust his body and cross with his left towards the far post, and this kind of positioning doesn't really allow him to have that kind of space out wide and show his trademark, to produce his trademark crosses. So it's a bit difficult to rely on him at the moment, in my opinion. I'm not discrediting his ability in general, because he's a player that has proved his worth, scored a couple of times against Man City last season, and even if we go back in time, under Frank Lampard, he was in some point crucial in his natural position, of course. But now he has been, so bar the preseason and those minutes he played in the Super Cup, he has been a bit passive in terms of creating chances and winning duels. So as he is not that kind of guy who play for the third time in a row in a Champions League game, especially after his couple of performances. And it's a similar argument regarding Kai, not so much about his positioning, because he has proven his versatility at Leverkusen and at us since coming here. But he's showing a bad body language, which has been, in my opinion, his main problem since he arrived here. He got over it during the last 6 months of last season, and now he's repeating the same signs of not fighting enough to win possession back, or to keep the ball in small and tight areas. So I'm delighted with the selection. Maybe I would agree with having Ruben as an 8, because in the long term, I personally see Ruben as an 8, and he has a very good attacking intent and can provide threat from his own in terms of shooting from the distance and providing killer vertical passes, and as he did under Maurizio Sarri in the last 3 months when we won the Europa League. But it's not a realistic opportunity as it stands to really see him as a 6. So basing on this, I'm delighted with the selection.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough for me. You could say two of them the way they are. Mason Mount in Industrial would be great off from there. He can also shoot from the outside 18, although his shooting isn't perfect yet when he shoots from the outside 18. Werner with his decoy run, I think, will be good for Lukaku, to create spaces for Lukaku. And he can also do well when he plays alongside Lukaku, because at Leipzig, he was great playing off of a big striker such as in the mode of Lukaku. So hopefully we'll see that relationship on the pitch blossom as we been hoping. So Bobby, coming back to you, we've looked at Lukaku. No question about Rudiger's inclusion in the team. He's our best left centre back, and if it's fit, why not start him? But it's good to see the Malin can hold his own if you field him. He did very well in the game that he played against Brentford. He didn't put a foot wrong, if you ask me. He read the game very well on occasions where we thought we'd been caught on a counter. He was there. He read the game, and he made some great interceptions. So good to see Thiago Silva, no question about his inclusion. We've talked about my concerns about Christensen starting when I argued it's more like having all the eggs in the same basket, because those are the two guys that are very good at leading the back line from the middle section. So Lukaku as number 9, I do believe nobody has a question there. Helgi, you did say something you were thinking they were going to play a false 9 today. But do you have any concerns about Lukaku starting as number 9?
No, I don't, because I gave my reasons that it must have been a sort of way and opportunity to give Lukaku to get over this kind of small drought psychologically. And in terms of the physical perspective of the thing, which has been the main discussion, especially from Tuchel's yesterday's press conference, I believe that these are things, as I said, that the manager knows best because he's there with the players. But from outside, I believe that psychologically, it's a great opportunity for him to find the back of the net again with us, because there is not a sort of coincidence that he scored a very well-curated goal with the national team and has struggled to somewhat. So he has been involved, of course, because he's a world-class number 9. but he needs to find the back of the net. And I feel that Tuchel finds this game as an opportunity to make him to provide him with the chances to find the back of the net again. So I have no issues from the outside. In
Great.
terms of the psychological stuff, the manager knows best.
Great argument right there. He needs to start finding back of the net, because the truth is, if we're true to ourselves, he's missed a couple of what you can say are status. He's missed a couple of chances in the last 2-3 games he's played. Even against Juventus, he did miss what you can call a great chance to score. Yeah, exactly. So, but that's, by the way, we need him to get back into his scoring form as soon as possible, because that's an issue that has haunted us for a while now, and we signed him to put away big chances. So it will not be good to start talking about how he's missed quite a few. So, but that's, by the way. And while I am with Bobby, please, if you're in the chat, you can ask your question now as we're rounding up. So, Bobby, I'm coming back to you. Overall, what do you expect from this lineup, attack-wise, defense-wise, and from the midfield? What do you expect from this lineup?
To be honest, I'm glad we've gone with a strong team, a team that we've even had a few question marks as to why we are playing the players again. It shows that we're doing the right thing, and that we are taking this team very seriously. I expect we should have too much for them. We really should. But we've got to be on our toes. This is the Champions League. In fact, I don't think there's any competition Chelsea playing, unless maybe things like the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, where you see a few minor teams, where the teams we'll face will not be teams that we shouldn't take very seriously indeed. And we're doing the same with these guys. But ultimately, we should have enough. And I just hope and pray it's a day where we surprise ourselves and we really can take these people to the cleaners. And as you've said, people like Lukaku need goals. Some confidence would do the front line, the world of good. And they need to score. Werner needs to score. And if we can have a handsome win, it'd be great. But it's not going to be easy. We can't tell at this level.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we need a win. And like you said, a win will do our attacking line a world of good, and so we need to see that happen. We need to see them start putting away scoring chances, and it's like I said before, it's something that's haunted us. He did a lot last season, and we signed Lukaku to help us solve that problem. So it's high time he starts scoring goals. Back to you, Helgi. Overall, what do you expect? I mean, before we go to the chat to address some questions we have there, and there's a comment I'd like us to address also. What do you expect from the lineup overall, attacking wise, defensive wise? What do you expect?
Well, on paper, I expect a dominant performance without underestimating Malmo at the slightest, because it's Champions League and we know very well that the nature of the competition. But I expect a balanced game in terms of our positions, like defense and attack and midfield. We need to see, as you said, that kind of fluid and like sharp connection between all the positions, like defense, attack, and midfield. So despite the inferior quality of the opposition on paper, we need to see that kind of energetic team performance, not only individually speaking, but we need that team. It's not that we haven't had it, but we need to see a sort of burst in terms of creating the opportunities and having possibly a high number of expected goals, and of course to have a great conversion rate if we create the right number of chances. So it's not the best possible maybe game to talk about a sort of competition in reference to the opposition, because we don't know much about them as we would have spoken if we played a classic team who participates in this phase of the Champions League, or a Premier League opponent with the pedigree to compete with us. But we expect a dominant performance. We are at home. We are against a team who has no points in the group. So without underestimating them, as I said, we expect great chemistry for all the positions.
Yeah, thank you very much. And coming back to Bobby as we round off, I would address some comments because we have a few minutes before the game starts, and we need to get done at least 5 minutes before the game starts. Coming to you, Bobby. Looking at this comment, I don't understand having a go at personnel in the main many play out of position. However, if we keep winning, okay, let's address the first part of the comment. Do you agree? Because mostly the argument is that Ziyech is being played out of position. Christian Pulisic is being played out of position. What do you think about that argument that affects their performance?
Well, first of all, I don't think any of us here has had a go at any player. That does surprise me. And in terms of them playing out of position, Ziyech playing out of position, really? When he's been given the chance, he has had the opportunity. I mean, it's not like we've played him at wing back as we did initially with Callum Hudson-Odoi, who eventually, I think, in his last showing against Southampton, he eventually was allowed to play in the left wing position. Eventually, so I'm not too convinced about that one. I think sometimes because we have favorite players, we start looking for excuses. These are top-rate players. They're earning top dollar at a top club. You have to perform. It's just that simple. And if you don't perform, you might find yourself spending lengthy periods of time on the bench. We're winners. We're not here to take part. We're here to win.
Great.
Yeah,
Fair enough point. I'll come to you, Helgi. Before I come to you, Helgi, Bobby, overall, what do you expect will be the outcome of the game?
I don't do score predictions, and I never back against my team not to win. But being realistic, overall, we should have too much for Malmo. We should be winning this game, really.
All right. Great argument. I forgot. Yeah, I do remember you always say you don't do score predictions. Coming to you, Helgi. Overall, looking at the comment on the screen, the first part of it, I don't understand having a go at personnel in the mainly play out of position. What do you think about that argument right there?
Yeah, the comment it's done because of my earlier argument. So in terms of the possible formation change, and I would agree that it's a matter of what outweighs what when we play in a back four or when we play in a back three. I didn't have a go at anyone because they are our players and they have proved that they deserve to be there with their Champions League success last season. But I referred only in terms of our goal scoring chances and conversion rate, which has been a problem last season, not due to the fact that I'm saying it, but due to the stats that we were 13th in the league in terms of conversion, and we were first in terms of chances creation under Tuchel. And if we change the system again, of course it's a matter of interpretation, but if we change the system again, it would be a bit ironical, at least in principle, because we were playing in a back four under Frank Lampard, and then we somewhat lost the control and chemistry in terms of having the right moments of attacking and defensive transitions. And now we found that balance, and suddenly all want to go back to that kind of back four. So it's a bit reactionary, in my opinion. And when you give a proposal, you should think about the consequences of it, whether they are positive or negative. For example, let's say Timo Werner is having a good phase of involvement in this 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2 shapes that we have been playing, we have been using. But if you play again him in a 4-3-3, you will either play him as a left winger or as a center forward, which in my opinion in the long term aren't his natural positions. Like, he wants to play as a decoy, has played as a decoy at Leipzig behind Patrick Schick. He playing somewhat as a decoy, even though he has another one as an inverted forward, so behind him, likes to be positioned in that half space and constantly make those horizontal runs or go in behind when the teams usually play in a high line. And you can take also other kind of examples. We talk about the double six, and if you play, for example, Ngolo in a 4-3-3 as a defensive midfielder, or as maybe as an attacking eight, it can be a positive. But he is clearly doing well with someone behind him as a six, like Jorginho or Loftus-Cheek, maybe, with him having the license to go forward and join the attack more. So it's a matter of finding the positives and negatives of both.
Yeah.
It's not just a thing that, let's say, we should change just because of having some problems in terms of goal scoring chances in the last 2 or 3 games. So I didn't have a go at anything, but it's, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's okay. No, I don't think he was pointing fingers. I think his voiced his opinion, and we all have our own opinions. And for me, to a certain extent, I think again, it is a bit of the two. Some players are played out of position, but as a professional, you should be able to adapt wherever you get the chance to play. That's the truth. So it's 50-50 to me. We all see it differently. So that's by the way. So overall, what do you think will be the result of the game?
I'm not good at match predictions either. I hope for a big margin win as a fan.
Okay, great. And we have just a few minutes now before the game starts. And for that, I will make sure to provide your complete information for you, Bobby Smoky Signal. You can see him on many Chelsea YouTube channels, providing great inputs to the channels. Same thing as Helgi. He's one of the most active Chelsea supporters I've ever met. And I will make sure to provide your complete information. But Helgi, if you can take a minute, quickly tell viewers, just a minute, because we have 5 minutes before the game starts, and tell the viewers about you. And I'll switch to Bobby so we can round off the show.
Yeah, as you said, I'm a devoted Chelsea fan. This is my biggest passion, as I have said in life, being a Chelsea. So nothing less, nothing more. My blood is blue, and I feel really grateful to take part in Chelsea channels and give my contribution through constructive discussions, through respecting the contrary opinions, and trying to argument my opinions in the best way possible.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you, because your knowledge of football is great, and I will always look to bring you back. And Bobby, over to you. And before Bobby says no, Helgi is not Turkish. Helgi is Albania, right?
Yeah.
He's Albanian, okay. And he loves Chelsea, and he hopes to continue growing the Chelsea community in Albania. He's very active, even more active than most of us that live where we have big Chelsea fan base. Bobby, over to you. Please tell the viewers about you so that we can round off. We have just a few minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just a regular Chelsea fan. I've supported Chelsea for many, many years. It's a passion of mine. You know, the blue bug bit me as a child, and it's never left me. That little boy that loved Chelsea back then grew up to this old man who still loves Chelsea just as much. That's all there is about me. I enjoy the privilege of being invited onto platforms like this to do what I love doing the most, and that's talking about the club I love. And there's nothing more complete. It's as simple as that. I don't have a platform. Yes, I'm on Twitter. I engage with that and a few other things, but Chelsea is my passion for sure.
Thank you very much, Bobby. It's always a pleasure to have you around, and I will look to bring you back again, because this will continue before each game that Chelsea plays. I'll try to make it a constant thing. And again, people, thank you very much. Please, if you haven't, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and more importantly, click on the bell notification button so you don't miss anything. Before we round off, I'd like to say special thank you to Almighty Blues FC, a great friend of mine, and he has a great YouTube channel also. I urge you to go check it out if you haven't. He has one of my favorite shows around from the Chelsea community. His trivia show, I think, is something that you should go check out. And also subscribe to his channel if you haven't, because he presents content from an intellectual perspective also. Thank you, MCIG. Nice to see you around. Thank you, Just Viola. Thank you, whoever that has been here. Staff, thank you very much for always being around. And everybody else that was in the chat. It's a pleasure presenting the first ever team analysis on Chelsea perspective. Let's go and enjoy the match. Go Blues, and I hope it's a win for us all today. Thank you very much again. I appreciate you all. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.